have you noticed that more and more people are running? You're not alone. The number of marathon runners has never been so big. This year, the New York City Marathon counted with more than 55,000 finishers, the record finishers of all time. And many brands leveraged this event for activations, and not all of them were sports brands. Maybelline, for example, became the marathon's first cosmetic partner. The running era is a post-pandemic global phenomenon and is growing fast, and more people are participating in run clubs and races. The app Strava showed in its last report that in just 1 year, there was a 20% increase in marathon runners. This phenomenon shows a consumer trend that is impossible to ignore. Consumers want to be healthier, belong to a community offline, and connect with brands that share the same value. Let's learn more about this new consumer and how brands are approaching this community-based engagement with the help of two experts, Renee Hartmann and Marcel Melzig. Here's Paula Macaggi, and this is episode 45 of my show. Welcome to OFFBounds. The Lunch Run Club in New York went from 30 participants to 1,000 in just 2 months. And now they have almost 27,000 followers on Instagram. The rule to participate in the club is that if you're single and willing to meet someone, you wear all black. And that combined with the dating app fatigue is just one example on how run clubs became the hottest place in the city. Today, just in New York, there are 250 official run clubs, and there are many reasons that explain why it is such a growing phenomenon and in many cities worldwide. In Brazil, the number of people aged 18 to 25 signing up for races has risen by 74%, and in 2023 alone, there were more than 150,000 races. That means around 411 races daily. Many articles attributed to the pandemic, as many people were in isolation and not able to go to closed spaces to exercise. And running, to be honest, is pretty much simple. You get a sneaker and you're ready to go. To help us understand what is happening in the industry, I invited Marcel Melzig, who is an expert in fashion, sneakers, and distribution, and is also interested in the following effect of sports in fashion brands.
Post-pandemic, people were fed up with running on themselves, and doing sports with themselves because all the gyms were closed during the pandemic. Now I see that a lot of people are happy about the new freedom, but they want to have like multiple people in their group, in their community, to see what they can achieve together. You know, it's a fun place to be instead, rather because you're all the time on your laptop, on your phone during the day at work. You are not even in your office maybe anymore because you do a lot of home office. So you miss socializing, and this whole community of sports is a social club.
This belonging feeling is definitely a huge part that is contributing to this trend. We've never been so digitally connected and so lonely at the same time. So building this connection offline is very important, especially as many of us continue to work from home. Another factor that contributes to this growth is health. Gen Zs are more health conscious, drink less, don't stay out so late, and seek a lifestyle that is worth sharing. No wonder the wellness industry is now worth more than $6 trillion worldwide. Joining us today is Renee Hartmann, who is no stranger to OFFBounds and runs CLA, a consulting company that helps retailers and retail tech to expand internationally.
Yeah, and I think there's this big trend, even if you think about just think about the anti-drinking phenomenon that's coming on now, like non-alcoholic beer is one of the fastest growing sectors, globally. And I think that's a lot of people are doing this kind of sober curious and, trying to kind of drink less and be more healthy. And so then if you're not going to the bars all the time, where are you going to meet people, right? So I think you're looking for these other outlets in your life where you can have those connection points that's more fun.
The hashtag running era has more than 30 million videos on TikTok, and users are calling it their quarter-life crisis. They know nothing. Many also say that marathon training also provides a profound sense of control that may be especially appealing to those coming into adulthood rather than the traditional milestones like marriage, home ownership, and children. As the popularity of running and marathon grows, the sports industry is also seeing interesting numbers. If we focus only on running shoe sales, it has been experiencing rapid and intense growth, with market size projected to expand from $51.3 billion in 2024 to $64.22 billion by 2028, at a compound annual rate of 5.8%. And naturally, you would think of big names like Nike and Adidas leading this growth, but they are far from being alone. Indie brands like On and Hoka have had impressive three-digit growth in the last 4 years.
I think it was a natural development of being innovative and being different to the big giants. They wanted to, because in today's market with the market cap and the revenue of these big players, I think Nike has $52 billion revenue. It's a giant. Adidas is ranking number 2, $27 billion. You think, okay, they are too big to fail. There's nobody which can compete with their marketing power, with their innovation power. But we could see that there's a small Swiss brand emerging on running. And Hoka is an American brand, part of Deckers Group, which, use a specific technology and innovation to just launch better products. And people probably were fed up with the over-distribution of the other brands. So they were looking for something new, some newness, with comfort and style and something which is more particular. And I think that's why these niche brands are very strong.
Maybe what may also have failed for Nike that opened so many opportunities for brands like On and Hoka is how they focused too much on D2C and left many retail partners behind, opening space for discovery of other brands.
For Nike, what was so strong about them for so long was the technology. And it was always like the Air Max, and then there's cushioning, and then there's, so you're going through these phases all the time. And I think there's also gets to a point of like, how much more technology can you put into a shoe when really you just need to have, it's not that complicated. So I think there's this ongoing cycle of like, what's the new cool thing, right? And so I think that Nike is clearly going in a not cool section right now, which is really rare for Nike, to be honest. Like, I've been following this brand forever, and it's always been one of the like amazing things about Nike is like, your grandma can have Nike, but it was still cool for, an 18-year-old guy to have it in the city, So it's like, was always this way of they could be so big and so massive, but still maintain that cool. And I think they're losing that a little bit. And I think people are looking for the new next thing. And I think that's where On and Hoka have come in. And then some of these like really cool running brands that are almost taking like streetwear culture and bringing it into the running sector. And I think that is super, super interesting because the streetwear brands have always been so good at like maintaining exclusivity and really making it like a lifestyle, like making it this cool lifestyle that's aspirational. And I think we're seeing so many different ways of how you can approach that now, which is really interesting.
I always tend to be a Nike guy. So full gear was Nike. Was always a Nike head also in my collecting habits. So I wanted always to have the full outfit of Nike. But now I'm getting older, so I need to be careful with my feet. And I was in a special running a store which had running analysis of my feet. And they said the best shoe at the moment we have is On Running, So I tried the On Running for 2 weeks, and I have to say it's much better than I thought it would be. And I thought it has improved my running behavior. I think so because when you wear an On Running shoe on the street, people will ask, because a lot of people don't know this brand yet. They will ask, what is this type of shoe? In Europe, you can see it on the feet with jeans, with denim. So I think it's comfort meets fashion and function. So there's a lot of appeal from new customer groups buying new stuff.
On and Hoka are on an incredible trajectory to win consumers' hearts and wallets. Hoka now has a store at Fifth Avenue in New York and in many famous shopping streets around the US. But their appeal runs a lot into communities. They did a special partnership with a New York local fashion brand called Essex, showing its position of more than just a running brand, but a fashion status. For the New York City Marathon, they did a 3-day marathon activation at the store. On has recently released its partnership with the luxury brand Loewe with, I have to say, beautiful sneakers, also positioning themselves as a popular and exclusive fashion brand. but also Loewe positioning themselves with a trendy sports brand. Win-win.
When we talk about these two brands, you see they have massive space in footwear and sneakers, special stores. And it's not only about running, or it's also part of your lifestyle. You know, you want to showcase that you're wearing a running shoe because you're a healthy person, which takes care of your body, you know? And I see that there will be a lot more on this going forward, because also you mentioned New Balance. New Balance has a big hype now, but it's more like the old running shoes, which have no innovation, you know? If you see on the street, you see an old New Balance, which was present in the 80s, but it looks cool because nowadays this is the trend. But if you go for running in that, it's not the right shoe for a runner, right? So these lifestyle brands trying to have a running division and also a lifestyle division. And sometimes, or very often, there's a crossover between these two.
Another brand that is attracting a lot of attention is a New York local brand called Bandit, which has two locations, one in Greenpoint and one in West Village. The brand was founded in 2020 and has worked with run clubs, sponsored athletes, set up pop-up shops at marathons and run events out of its shops. A membership program was created in which members get perks like early access to limited drops and discounts on Bandit gear for around $125 annual fee. They even released a 17-piece collection in partnership with ASICS, which is unheard of when considering the Japanese brand.
Looking at Bandit, and they were saying like the colorways that they use are much more, they're not the traditional running colorways. So it's not just about black. It wasn't about like pinks and blues and things like that, but it was more like muted colors that are a little bit more urban, more street, you know. So even taking the idea of like, and then the other thing I really liked about them, which is like something they reminds me of Under Armour, which is they said they put the logo on the front of the sock, so everybody knows the sock. And then when you buy their stuff, you know, it's you get free pairs of socks, and it's like part of the membership club, right? And it's funny because I used to have a Jeep, and they actually mentioned this too. It's like whenever you drive a Jeep, someone always waves at you. It's like that's the Jeep wave, and it's like you're part of the club, right? And they're doing that with the socks, right? So it's becoming these things where being a runner and being part of these cultures and being part of these communities, it's becoming kind of like a cool lifestyle to be part of. So it's more than just I like to run for fun or I like to run for exercise. It's becoming part of a like identity group, which is not, haven't seen that so much with running before.
Renee is on point. The same way a luxury item can be an expression that consumers belong to specific groups of people, it's now cool to show you belong to the running community. And many brands are noticing that.
Apparel brands really focusing on that sector. You see there's a lot of sub-brands coming up from maybe streetwear brands or fashion brands which launch a running or gym or sports or wellness line. You can see this is part of the trend. If you see or compare Alo Yoga or Lululemon, you know, you see women wearing these yoga pants every day, like 24/7. And there's like also the 24/7 running club, which, you know, everybody is having like a special collection for this to be the part of the community. And I see this is a big trend also for brand management.
So let's talk about brand management. In 2025, challenger brands like On, Hoka, and ASICS are expected to get 57% of the sportswear segment profit, surprisingly taking a portion of the most traditional brands like Nike, Adidas, Puma, and Under Armour. As shown on the Business of Fashion 2025 State of Fashion report and posted on LinkedIn by Marcel himself. And by the way, if you're very interested in these topics, please follow Marcel on LinkedIn. He posts daily insights that are very interesting. These brands' two-digit growth are attributed to their faster innovation cycles, community engagement, especially with local run clubs, and smart D2C and wholesale strategies. But do you think that Nike and Adidas will just watch that and stay quiet? Of course not. Both brands are coming aggressively to regain their running crowd attention, and we can see that in many Nike stores around the world. During many of my travels, I went to several Nike stores, and their main theme was running. You can see the pictures of the store in London, where they are strongly advertising their new sneaker launch for rain and cold, the Pegasus Gore-Tex. In Chicago, where they were just having the Chicago Marathon, where they covered the main store with their new campaign on running, and even in Shanghai at their House of Innovation, there was a lot about running. And look how cool. Just last week, Nike launched its NSRL Farm Store, making its first Nike store worldwide to offer the signature running service. NSRL Farm provides a face-to-face, head-to-toe running consultation designed to unlock the runner's potential. It's like a running lab. And it's so interesting to see that this first Nike store opened in Shanghai. Of course, they always have the best stores, and Renee, who lived there for so many years, said that running is also a super growing phenomenon.
I honestly think that came up in the last probably 4 or 5 years, because it used to be you never saw anybody running in China. Like, it was insane. It was one of those things, like they had a Great Wall Marathon, and every once in a while you'd have like elite runners would come and do that. And they were people who were coming from all over the world, like the New York City Marathon. But now there's marathons all the time, and they're just anybody is running them. They're not like elite sports, it's something that's really more of a participation. So I think that is a really new thing. And again, based on like the fact that it's really urban. And I think because it's so popular, people just want to do a lot of them. So I think it's something that's really happened in the last, I would say 3 to 5 years. Before that, not at all.
And as you know, I was just there in Shanghai, but I came back way too soon to see this Nike running lab. But hey, of course I went there for a run. I was running by the river, and one of the things that caught my attention was looking at these Adidas kiosks by the course where people could exercise, drink water, go to the bathroom. And I think it's so smart to serve the running community and connect your brand with them. The Shanghai Marathon will happen just in a few weeks, on December 1st. And I wish I was there to see how brands will leverage this moment. Adidas is betting big in bringing the best, lightest, and fast running sneakers to the market, a lot faster than Nike, and that's how I feel. And that actually is still what these bigger brands can do that others can't. Invest a lot more money in innovation, and connect with leading athletes. At Adidas store that I visited in Shanghai, you can see that they were focusing on telling the story of the athletes that beat the world record wearing Adidas. Even the Financial Times published a story on the race to make the world's fastest running shoes that are basically a fight between the big giants, Adidas and Nike, that continue to lead the world records in both female and male categories, bringing Adidas' new $500 launch to become sold out in just 1 hour.
That's true. There's a technology from Nike. It's called Alpha Fly. These are also expensive running shoes, €300. And you know yourself, a running shoe maybe keeps you for 800, 1,000 kilometers of running. And then you need to have a new shoe. So it's not like you keep and maintain the same shoe, because the sole eventually will break or will not, cushion anymore. So you have to change your shoes frequently. And there is technology on every brand's innovation road, which will probably adapt this whole trend of running. And if you can sell a inline, not a collaboration, €500 running shoe, which is expensive, right? The Loewe On Running collaboration is $450. That shows you that there is a lot of traction in this direction. So people like to spend money on that product.
This past New York City Marathon has shown us that marathons are becoming fashion shows, and they are receiving as much attention as the New York Fashion Week, which gives an incredible opportunity for brands to work on activations, to engage with the community. L'Oreal, for example, had a dedicated cheer zone, makeup booth, and branded running team staffed by actresses and other personalities. And there are so many opportunities for all sorts of brands to join this wave.
There could be a million different crossovers of like post running, during running. I loved like even just thinking about that one of the things I liked about Bandit is like, where do you put your phone when you run? Like I always put my phone in my bra. It drives me crazy, right? So it's like, where do you find these things you can do, and like how are all the things that you're putting around it, right? And I think so. It's you don't have to be part of the running experience, but how do you make yourself like central to that community, and that you're really targeting into that community and around the wellness piece of it too. So I think that's something that almost any brand could do. It's just a question of like, where do you find those touch points, and how do you make it really relevant to people in a way that is authentic? And that's the most important thing, is like, how do you make it authentic to the experience?
I could see so many possibilities. Maybe jewelry resistant to sweat, or maybe makeup, drinks.
Or why not gift them something, or even make a space where they can go hang out at your store after and have a special experience. You get a massage from it, like all these different add-on pieces that you could bring to it, or like, here's some slippers for after you finish running. There's so many different ways you can tap into it. And I think to your point, I mean, I was in Dusseldorf the other day too, and I was like, I saw tons of running groups, and you see these, you're right, like these big packs of like 50 people running through the park. And so, and then, what are they going to do afterwards? It used to be like a lot of times they would do like these pub runs and everything, but given the push to wellness, it's like we talked about, like they should go to Starbucks and have an after run hydration drink, so there's a lot of ways for brands to kind of tap into that. And I think the community piece is the most interesting piece of it, how you can really tap into this idea of a lifestyle and what are the things that go around running. There's a lot of options there.
And funny enough, running is getting into many different aspects of people's lives, including networking. Last week in Lisbon, it was happening Web Summit, one of the largest tech events in the world, and you'll be surprised by how many networking runs were happening that week. I even ran 5 kilometers with fellow founders on a Wednesday at 7 a.m. before sunrise, and participated in a 10K race called Tech Run on Sunday, where everyone had their names and companies with their numbers, so we could network after. So it is growing into the B2B space too, and it has been reported that during New York Fashion Week, several brands opted to running events instead of cocktail parties. Is your brand ready to engage with this growing community? It should definitely be in your strategy plan. I would love to hear your thoughts. Feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn or drop a comment. And don't forget to subscribe to the show. See you next week.